Rangers in space.
Wonderful. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Chill with Will. I'm Will, and I have a guest with me tonight. Please welcome Colin back to the show. Hey,
It's
Colin.
good to be back. Hey.
Yeah, you haven't been on since season 1, huh?
Yes, it's been
Yeah,
a
it's
while.
been a while, but we
Thanks
got you
for renewing my
back.
contract.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. We were in negotiations for about a year. That's why it took so long. And then we ended up cutting
Contract
season 2
dispute.
short, so it was just kind of hard to work you in there.
Uh, damn writer strike.
That too. That definitely did not help. So I brought Colin on tonight. We're going to be talking about the news that broke yesterday about the popular conservative uh, influencer, I guess you could call him, Charlie Kirk. He was shot and murdered at a college campus in the middle of one of his debates that he does yesterday. As of right now, the killer is still out on the loose. FBI is still looking for him. But I just wanted to bring Colin on tonight to have us both just kind of like talk about him and just sort of like the content he made and like the reaction to it from pretty much everyone, because I think everyone's reaction to this, both on the left and the right, pretty much in every political avenue, is very interesting.
Everyone feels a way about him.
Everyone, like even people who had never said a damn thing about politics, have something to say about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was a friend of mine who, bless her heart, had never heard of Charlie Kirk before the day he was shot, um, was like, oh, yeah, well, maybe it's not so, maybe the world's better off without him. And I'm like, and this is, and you'd never heard of him before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was a right-wing talking head, and he embodied that fully. He was racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobic, transphobic, basically any marginalized group. He had all the isms towards, uh, and you could argue that this could have been a cynical persona he put on, or whatever, or like for the sake of clicks and business and money. But the fact of the matter is, like, he's still saying all of these horrible things, making money off of it, stoking hatred and xenophobia.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know, do we want to go into like just endless examples of
I
all the
mean,
horrible things he said?
I
Like,
mean, there's countless hours upon hours of documented evidence, you know, because I mean, what we know for sure is this man loved a camera. He loved filming himself, owning people and debates and um, any type of you know verbal altercation. He loved having that, and he's been doing that for the better part of at least 15
uh,
years, I would say.
yeah, like I was.
Because the last time I was in church, when I was in church in high school, I remember hearing inklings about Charlie Kirk all the way back then, as like an up and coming like speaker in the Christian like evangelical space. And
Yeah, like
the
I
weird thing
was.
about it is like I was like a teenager, so and he's a year younger than me, so that was very. I never
That's
knew
it.
how close
That
in
was
age
it.
he was to me.
Like we would have been in high school with this guy.
Right.
Like I remember seeing like long time ago, because I like his Wikipedia page that I was looking at recently said that his career started around that, like, marks the beginning of his career of like 2012. And so I'm like, so this guy would have definitely been like 17, 18 years old. And I remember, like, not immediately in 2012, but like I remember seeing clips of him, and he looked like a kid. But then he just like had this energy of this like really nasty old man. So maybe that just like made him appear so much older. So when I saw, and see, 31 years old, it was just like a trip. That was like, it was a rough 31 years by the looks of
Yeah,
things.
well, I mean, it's just sort of the thing that happens to all of these conservative commentators. I mean, you can deny it if you want, but I think it's very apparent that hate and bigotry like makes you look ugly and really like wears on your body, and like actually holding those emotions for people and like verbalizing them and expressing them. I think it really affects your body. I think it truly does, and it makes you an ugly
Clearly.
person.
Like, and he had to have had some self-awareness about this because I remember when he did the Jubilee video,
Hmm.
there were clips of him like on their surrounded video where he was doing like this really nasty sneer to these women,
Hmm.
and they were why are you being creepy? And he's like, oh, a smile is creepy, and it's like, oh, that's so he had to know. He had to know that he looked ghoulish.
Hmm.
And yeah, like you said, he was just like the inside was like clearly spilling out onto the outside. Um, because he just had this anger to him that just was like it's not coming from a place of like reason or righteous anger. It's just like, oh, you're just like being nasty, you're being a bully.
No, because like you could
Um,
tell he never spoke with any like passion. His passion was like being correct.
and
You know,
he never was.
no, that was the thing. He just blurted out lies all the time. Like he was just so confidently wrong, and like he always you always knew whenever he was debating someone he was not coming from a good place.
Yeah, no, it was always just like trying to say, like, what awful thing could I say this time?
Right.
That, like, whether he believed it or not, uh, his followers, his fan base,
Mm-hmm.
they take it as gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's like, and it would like sometimes he would say something that's like openly cartoonishly awful and racist,
Mm-hmm.
and then other times he's just like spouting dog whistles, like talking about like 1 minute it's calling every black person in any career space DEI hire, or using like his last words. His last words were racist dog whistle about gang violence and like
Mm-hmm.
shooting statistics and gang violence, and that's like that has always been a really loaded term that is meant to conjure this image of scary black people with guns in inner cities. And it was just like so like I've heard that my whole life. It's like I know when I talk about it, and it's super. It's a frustrating kind of racism that's meant to just like wear away at your soul
Right.
because he could be talking about anything
Yeah.
when he says gangs. He could like, but and even if it's just not specifically, even if he didn't specifically mean black people, he could mean Latin people. He could mean just any not white
Right.
person.
It's always
And
just vague enough to ride the line.
yeah, and he's saying this to a great big white crowd in Utah,
Mm-hmm.
in an area where people have like it's just very homogenous, very closed off, and people have their perceptions of scary cities like Baltimore
Mm-hmm.
or New York or LA.
Or Chicago.
And exactly. And then it justifies in their mind any it's like deploying the National Guard to LA or DC, because these places are so violent and crime ridden
Mm-hmm.
that Trump needs to bring in law and order. He's the law and order president.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part that like Charlie Kirk was not a passive observer in all of this. He was not some just like political commentator trying to bridge the gap. No, he was actively, and even in his death, like NBC and the LA Times were referring to him as a Trump ally. He was an
Yeah.
ally to this administration. He did his part in the propaganda machine of the
Yeah.
administration.
Oh, definitely. I mean, without him, Like it's like people like him, Joe Rogan, and all these other right wing podcast bros essentially. A lot of them who contributed to the outcome of the election. I mean, that's just what it was.
Yeah.
Like voting statistics show it. Like the audiences that follow people like him, that's who showed up for Trump in the election.
Yeah. And and you expect that. You expect that from Trump's most fervent supporters and his base. Um, you expect them to like they voted for an awful person. You expect their views to be awful. And so and so it's that's been expected. What was really surprising to me was I did have a lot of people because I so when he died,
Mm-hmm.
I I I posted something. I posted like his death, and the background music was "No One Mourns the Wicked" from Wicked.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's just like, yeah, yeah, that's how I feel.
that
It's like,
is something I
yeah.
thought about posting as well. So
And
you're not alone in that
I
sentiment.
I was surprised. Like, I was surprised that I had a couple of people sliding into my DMs, saying things like, "Oh, so because your politics don't align with his, that makes his death okay." Um, and or like, like, well, I might not have liked everything he said, but like, what about his family? And I'm like, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
that's like been the weirdest part about all of this. Is just like this sort of like sane washing of like everything he had ever said from like people who didn't actually know who he was. That's kind of the thing I've noticed is just it's a lot of people who don't know who this man is. And I think what a lot of it is there are these people who they consider themselves Christian. They go to church maybe like once a month or every couple months, whatever. So they go in these spaces, and Charlie Kirk has been a prominent figure in evangelical spaces for over a decade now. And so I'm sure it's a name they've heard in passing, they've seen in like literature for like conferences that are coming up like in their area or whatever, because we know this man went all over the country all year. He was always bouncing all over. And so it was probably a thing where they just associated his name with the church. And so, but they don't understand the context of who he is as a person and what he actually said. They just understood that it's this man who's supposedly Christian got shot and murdered at a college campus. And so their takeaway from that is, oh, it was just an innocent man. He just got shot and you should feel bad for him. And it's just like, well, no. If you actually knew anything about him, you'd recognize why there are so many people who actually don't give a shit that he's dead. We're upset that the gun violence happened. We're upset that he got murdered, right? Like, we recognize that that is not good, but we're not upset that he's dead because,
that's the other thing too, is that I've been seeing that word a lot,
mhm.
celebrate. I wasn't
I
celebrating
hadn't
his death.
seen,
I was
yeah,
being bitchy and sarcastic. That wasn't the same as like me popping the champagne and saying like we got him or anything. It's like no, it's
right,
just like I like at best I'm indifferent.
exactly.
Um I like I made it very clear to the people who were like coming for me that like I never wished this man dead, but I'm not upset that he's gone.
Right. And I
Like
think
he
that's the part.
certainly
People think that empathy for a person and disgust in like the circumstances around their death, like they need to be tied together. And they don't. I'm disgusted
no,
with the act. Like I
but
like the gun violence sucks. And like what made
but
it
it's violence that he, by his own admission, didn't particularly take issue with.
right.
He
It's
said
violence
while
he
he was alive.
perpetuated.
Yes, he said that like something to the effect that like children who were killed in school shootings were acceptable losses in the name of preserving the Second Amendment.
Right.
Like,
It was just a price. It was a casualty of keeping the Second Amendment. Was like people dying by guns every year, and it's just like he created the culture that led to him getting killed, and that's what a lot of people are pointing out the irony in his death. That's what it is, because his death was entirely ironic, because the exact thing he preached for is what did him in.
because he never assumed that it could happen to him. He never thought for a second that he could be the victim of gun violence, which is like, these evangelicals, derogatory, who they don't know the Bible, they don't know the scripture, and like Jesus himself said, "Live by the sword, die by the sword."
Mm-hmm.
Sure, not a sword per se, but like you put your faith and everything into weapons,
Right.
and like say also at the same time, same dude, Charlie said that like children should watch public executions of Trump's political enemies, and well, what do you know? Hey, publicly executed,
Yeah.
very publicly executed,
Yeah.
not televised, but like broadcast
Broadcast
to
widely. A lot of people saw that
yeah,
video that did not want to see it.
yeah. I came across it. I
Yeah.
wasn't prepared to. It is shocking.
Yeah.
It's not like on TV or movies. Someone getting shot, which is like, oh yeah, yeah, it's different. Just like seeing just like the reaction to his body when it happened. It was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like someone told me that Charlie Kirk was killed just for his words, and all I could think is that like that's nothing new in this country, and Charlie
Yeah.
Kirk is not uniquely gunned down in a public setting like that. Like
No. But I think like
what?
the biggest difference is it was a white guy.
Yeah,
It was a prominent, relatively wealthy. I don't know exactly how much he made, but he had enough money to
he was well
he
off.
was well off. Yeah. So I mean, like
Yes,
he's a part of this like demographic that for over a decade now, at least publicly, over a decade now, we've seen broadcasts that is perceived to be impenetrable, impunable, can do pretty much whatever the fuck they
bulletproof.
want. And yeah, exactly, except not in this case. Uh, um, but we've seen them they've been shown to be indestructible and unstoppable, and then we see this happen in like within moments. You know what I mean? Because it's just like so abrupt. And I mean, like, I think that's why a lot of these conservative people are panicking and like they're calling for war and blah blah blah, because it's just like people recognize now it's like, oh well, actually these people aren't unstoppable. They are actually quite easily, they are just as much at risk as any of us are at any given time. Um,
And though there's been like some obviously in the death of this bigot, some of the very marginalized groups that he rallied against are the most vulnerable. Um, I go to a black college,
mhm.
and we've just been hearing stories of other HBCUs, like Hampton University in Virginia or Virginia State getting bomb threats or
Yeah.
having to shelter in place
Hmm.
because, like in like direct retaliation of what happened to Charlie Kirk in Utah. I've had people say that like, oh, like oh, like this is supposed to be the party of tolerance, but y'all are celebrating that,
Yeah, it's the party of
and
death and
assuming
destruction, and
and
it's just like,
yeah, and assuming that like, but what's just like funny to me is that even though we don't know who the shooter was, you can see in that video, it's an all white crowd.
Right. Like the chances of it
It
being a
was
person of color are like very low.
very low. Like, certainly if it was a person of color who was armed, because that shot
It was like 200
was like,
yards, right?
yeah, so like, a person of color armed in that kind of environment is gonna stick out.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised if this is somebody who has been a fan or follower of Charlie Kirk for quite some time.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, yeah, at this point, we don't know. We don't know
We don't know. I
who
mean,
or
like
what
the
the
one person of
motivation is.
interest
This is
that
all
they,
speculation.
right. And I mean, like the one person of interest that they have currently at the time of this recording, this is on the 11th of September, so when we're recording this, the person of interest is a white guy. Like the camera footage they've shown, it looks like a white guy. So it's just like, and then the two people they arrested before yesterday, after it all happened, before they ended up releasing them because they, realized they didn't have the right person, they were all white people. And I mean,
Yeah.
just history shows us, if you pay attention to any kind of mass shooting, the majority of even the one in Colorado that happened yesterday, they apprehended who did that, is a 16-year-old white kid who followed extremist people on the internet. They didn't name drop specifically because I think that was very well intentioned by the media to do that and the police department because they know what would happen if they did. But I would bet my bottom dollar that one of the people that kid followed was Charlie Kirk.
Was Charlie Kirk? Yeah, like 100%. And uh, um, like these, I see the same people who are condemning people like you and me for
Mm-hmm.
not being sad about Charlie Kirk's killing. Is I haven't heard, not just like not just I have these were people who I haven't seen them post anything about Charlie Kirk, but I don't see them post anything political in general.
Right.
I have not. These are people I haven't seen them post anything about Gaza,
Mm-hmm.
anything happening in Sudan. I don't see them posting about like just about political violence that, or like real political violence that is happening here
Right.
in the States, or even like be it back home in California or
Mm-hmm.
here in the DMV. But all of a sudden, like, you're holding up Charlie Kirk as this victim that who is like, oh, like, give him like the peace of death. Like, no,
No, because
like,
like the thing is,
where's this coming from?
right,
Yeah,
because like he wouldn't give it to anybody else. He didn't all the time. There were
like,
Palestinian
why do you
people
suddenly?
dying every day, and like he couldn't give a damn.
He
He would
said that
celebrate. He'd
Palestine
clap
wasn't
and
real.
right. He
Yeah,
clapped and cheered that these people were being slaughtered, and it's
and
just
like,
like what are we doing? Like and like we're calling it political violence, and it's just like that's the buzzword, right? That's the buzzword that everyone's latching onto right now is political
yeah,
violence, and it's just like, bro, we've been in the middle of political violence. We elected
that's
an authoritarian regime. They've been
one of my
kidnapping
friends.
people off the damn street like every
Like,
day for months at this point.
this is nothing new. One of my friends pointed out that this is first of all, political violence is what this country was founded on.
Exactly.
Like, Aaron Burr killed Alexander Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
They made a musical about it.
Right.
Police brutality is state violence towards the citizenry.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you could argue the mere existence of police is political violence towards the citizenry, but that might be a bit too
You don't want to
far
get too woke,
left.
Colin. Don't get too woke.
Apparently not. Yeah, yeah, no. Woke is what I am by
All
the
right.
very nature of who I
No,
am.
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, like, this is. I haven't seen these people condemn any other forms of violence. I didn't. I You've never posted once about Charlie
No,
Kirk,
it's just so
but all
weird.
of a
It brings out the
sudden,
most random people. that want to
Yeah,
like chip into this like this is the conversation that people want to jump in on finally. Like we've been seeing all of this fucked up shit happen day after day after day for months. Like here at home in
years.
America, every day in various communities. So definitely in proximity to where all these people live, but none of them speak out on any of it. But they speak out
Like,
when the racist gets clipped in the neck.
like it's childish to bring up high school, but like some of these people are people I haven't heard from since then.
Right.
And like when I was in like my senior year of high school, Trayvon Martin was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a Christian private school, and there was either indifference to his killing or just the wildest, most untrue things were said about him that like he was breaking and entering, or he was in an area he wasn't supposed to be, just like all that horrible stuff. And so like these same people who were either indifferent or like that are now acting like so superior now that a bigot was murdered in broad daylight. And it's like, oh, where was that like where was that compassion? Where was that concern for the family of Trayvon Martin? Where was that concern? Like Charlie Kirk called George Floyd a scumbag. I don't remember seeing any of these people posting any outrage when he was murdered. Uh, Charlie Kirk advocated for the release of of Derek Chauvin, the police officer who murdered George Floyd.
Yeah.
And this is who you're coming to why do I, yeah, like, that's a wild thing to say to my gay black ass,
Mm-hmm.
that I should feel bad that this bigot who wouldn't have given a shit about me dying, I'm supposed to give a shit about him being killed? Why?
Right.
Like, why is that? Why do I have to take the high ground? Why do I have to rise above?
Yeah, well,
No.
especially like since we've seen time and time again that the right doesn't do that. They don't take the high road. They go low every fucking time. And even when we do go high, they still manage to paint it like we're being the bad guy. And so it's just like there's no point in trying. You can't reason with fascists. You simply can't.
You can't
Especially fascists that are in a
respectability
cult.
polit you can't respectability politics your way to liberation. Like,
No.
and like it's just wild. It's truly wild that and they're not all white too. That's the other thing too. Is like
No, I mean that's
some
the
of these are
surprising
people
part
who are
too,
like
is that
who
it
are
isn't just a
people of color
mm-hmm.
who've like they feel they've transcended into the into that world where like the color of their skin or their background doesn't matter, and it's like, no, this society will remind, like, white supremacy will remind you what they really think of you
Mm-hmm.
if you step out of line with this, like you're not useful to them anymore.
Right.
And you can't don't do their work for them. Like, don't like try and sanitize their legacy of hatred, because it's not going to serve you in the end. Like, I don't know, asking me and in who I am to feel sorry or to show respect to someone like Charlie Kirk in death is like asking me to be sad when if a Nazi were killed.
Yeah, and I
Like,
mean like and a lot of people are
why?
saying that like it's an extreme comparison to make to call him a Nazi, and it really
It's not.
isn't.
It's
It's
not.
really not.
Like,
And
the Nazis were not. It wasn't all Sieg Heils and goose stepping and like postage stamp mustache. No, like the Nazis, they took over every form of government. They had propagandists. They had
right.
people whose entire job it was to like put as much hate and nastiness out there as possible
Mm-hmm.
to dehumanize Jewish people, gay people,
Mm-hmm.
Roma people, um, and asking these people to to politely accept that, it's insane.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just like seeing all of this, it really just like really it really gets you to ask yourself, it's just like, if Hitler were to die today, if he were alive and if he were to die, how would these people react? You know what I mean? It's just like, would you be sad, or like would you be sad that Hitler died? Like, cuz and it's just like, cuz like you also you'd have to ask him, would you feel sad if Vladimir Putin died, to use more timely people? Would you be sad about him? Would you be sad about Benjamin Netanyahu dying? Someone who's
Would you
like
be sad about
wanted by multiple
Christ?
countries for war crimes. You know what I mean?
And
It's just like,
like,
would you be sad if those people died? It's just like,
uh,
no, you shouldn't, and because there's such a thing as evil people. Like, there is
yeah,
such a
and
thing as evil people, and people don't like to think there is. People like to think there's some shred of good in every person, and that there's,
uh,
no matter what bad thing, there's some people that hold this idea that, like, no matter what you do, and it's mostly perpetuated by the Christian church because of what they preach about Jesus. Because like
yeah,
they are like, no matter what you
because
do, as
Jesus
long as
can
you
forgive
ask for
everyone.
forgiveness, like,
Yeah,
you're okay. And it's just like, no. Because you still did all of the fucked up things you did, and it had an
like it
effect on
doesn't
people.
matter. It doesn't matter like what tiny little shred of good is in you. All the evil you did over is so much bigger than that. Like like I was talking to my mom about this, and I'm grateful that I can have these like cathartic moments with my mom where like, because like my mom was saying that like he might have been a child of God, but you don't have to feel sorry for when evil is destroyed. I'm like, Ma, oh, I just wasn't expecting that from you. I didn't even expect her to know who Charlie Kirk was. I mean, she just heard Trump ally, and immediately she didn't care
Right. No, I
care
mean,
who he was. She was already like, mm. But yeah, no, it's like I like yeah, like for this, so there's people saying like, oh, he was a child of God. Oh, like he had a family. Oh, this that does okay. Like yeah, like Hitler by that definition was a child of God too.
right.
Um, and it's like yeah, like you're like people are bigger than the worst things they do, but they're also not all just the best things they did either, like you said. That like whatever good was inside of him clearly did not shine through, or maybe it was destroyed. Who knows what happened to it, or who knows where it went? But he caused so much harm to a lot of people that it doesn't matter how good he was to his wife or how much his friends loved him.
Hmm.
He still used his voice and his platform to make people's lives miserable
Right.
for no reason other than he just didn't like them.
Yeah.
And
And like, people are
yeah,
also
no,
pointing out that, like, oh, he should feel bad that his wife and kids had to be there, to see that happen. And it's just like, he also put them in that situation. That
I
was
don't
a that was
feel
that was a risk he ran every single time he spoke in public, and he chose to bring his wife and children along with him because he didn't have
his
to.
wife. So his wife is complicit in all of it. She might not be a public figure in the way that he was, but still, like,
No,
she
but I mean,
stood
like,
by
she's
him. She
still with
showed up for
him,
him.
right?
Yeah. His kids, they're so young that it's like, okay, they're
Yeah, I
not his
mean, like, I think the
agents, but
oldest
it's
one is
like,
10, maybe.
oh no, I know. I think like I don't even think that. I think there was an
The,
example where you're saying like if his 10-year-old daughter
okay,
had
that's
gotten
what that's why
pregnant,
I
but
was
I
getting
think
messed up because he
yeah,
said the
but no,
fucked up thing about 10-year-olds.
I think his oldest is like 2.
Okay,
So like
so
they're both so young that like
Yeah.
they're
So
not going to remember him, or like most of their lives will be lived without him.
yeah.
And while that might be sad, it's, yeah, like you said, that's the position he put them in,
Hmm.
uh, by building this platform in this way. Um, but yeah, and so, and if you say like, oh, well, what about like, well, what about his family? What about like there's like the like those the kids all over the country who were getting shot in school. Whatever part he played in uh holding back gun reform. What about their families?
Right.
Um, who didn't have the security of just like who couldn't even safely send their kids to school.
Yeah, and that's like the craziest thing because like we also had that shooting in Colorado happen at the same time, so it's just like all these things like just happening, like school shootings and all that shit. It's just like that's political violence, but no one talks about that. You know what I mean? It's just like stuff perpetuated by the right that leads to like that being the leading cause of death for children in this country, which is it's fucking insane. It's just it's insane that like we keep having this conversation about gun laws and whatever. And there are some people that think because this happened to Charlie that this maybe this will finally be the thing that leads to gun reform. And I hate to burst your bubble. There's no fucking way.
Well,
Like
he
it,
they
the
this
the most
administration didn't love him
horrid of
that
a
much.
the most horrid of circumstances have happened to the most vulnerable people in our country, and we haven't done a fucking thing about guns at all.
Uh, yeah, like this. So it's the Republican Party has the interesting ability to fall in line, but it doesn't benefit them because his name kind of seems to have been lost to time. But Herman Cain, I remember, was like the the black Republican front runner. He was everywhere. He was at every event. He ran for president under the Republican ticket. He ingratiated himself into Trump. Died of COVID in 2020, like one of the earliest COVID deaths back when Trump's administration at the time was playing down how dangerous COVID was. And here's Charlie Kirk, big advocate against gun reform and any modifications or amendments to the Second Amendment, shot to death
Yeah,
in Utah.
an open carry state,
Hmm.
by the way, even on a college campus, which is certainly interesting. Uh,
Mm,
and that's the thing. Like that's a choice. That's a choice that like all of these politicians make, and I think it's also the price we pay as regular citizens for people being as disconnected from politics as they have been. Because it's just like moments like this is when the stupidest people decide they want to play politics and they want to finally get involved. Is when they finally want to like feign outrage and like all of this shit about a bigot, basically. But it's just like, if you brought even a fourth of this energy to like your local politicians everywhere all the fucking time, we probably would all have slightly better lives than we do right now.
mm.
You know what I mean? And
No, that's, yeah, like this is, yeah, this is what happens when people like neglect their civic responsibilities, or just like don't even do the bare minimum shit of voting.
mhm, exactly. It's just like they expect all these things to change, but no one does the work. And it's so wild. Or they they're like those people that share the mindset of like, oh well, I don't really vote because like what does it matter? or is it like it doesn't really affect me? And it's just like, bro, it does. Like you not voting totally fucks you over. Like I don't get how people that doesn't click for people. I think it's because like they feel so disconnected from it all because it's just like the people within it, you know, make it seem like it's so complicated and like difficult, and it really isn't.
No, it's not. Like they try to overcomplicate it to justify like why you should vote for them time and time again, or like,
Hmm.
oh, why hasn't anything changed? Well, there's a lot of like this, that. No, no, it isn't. It's incompetence, or it's cynicism or malice. But like I was talking to my Lyft driver the other day when I was in DC, and like we were talking about how like all these people who are like shit talking the administration, like he's saying that like all of them are saying like that they didn't vote, or that like, oh, they're like, it doesn't make a difference. And he's like, and he and I both agree that like, if nothing else, vote so you get to complain. Like,
Right.
if you vote, that is your ticket to complain until the next election cycle. You've earned it. Like you said, like, hey, I voted for this and you're not doing this. Yes, you should. Yeah, use your outrage. Like, your voice is your vote, and by like your politicians, they work for you.
Hmm.
Like, they are not doing what you voted for them for, and you certainly wouldn't have voted for them if you knew that they weren't going to do anything, or if they were gonna like weren't going to take the job seriously. You
Hmm.
have the power to impact things. Um, I'm not even like asking, I'm not even like saying that you have to like go out to every protest and put your body on the line. Like I have, but that's only because I'm just reckless and impulsive. But like you don't
You
have to
are. You
do
are
that
very
to
impulsive.
make you don't have to do that to make, yeah, but you don't have to, there's other ways to make your voice heard.
Right. Absolutely. And it's just people don't. People think that they can't. And you know what? The biggest thing I hope for, and I mentioned this on the show last week. You know, I think a big indicator of where we go moving forward is definitely going to be one, the mayoral election in New York City, provided we're still operating by the time November rolls around, and then also the California special election with the gerrymandering. Um, Depending on how those two things go, I think really sets the tone for where we go next, and like where the rest of the country decides to go, because
Yeah.
once because I think if you see someone like Zoran Mamdani, who is obviously connecting with the people of New York City, and like there's so much footage of him on the ground with people, meeting them where they're at, talking to them, you know, going to people of all faiths. You know, he's been going, dude's a Muslim, he's going to Jewish churches, Christian churches, he's going wherever he wants to meet people where
Wherever New
they're at.
Yorkers are.
Yeah, he wants to go
Yeah.
where the people are, and I think he
He's
represents
like
what a
asking about like how to make the city more affordable
mhm,
for the people who actually live there.
right. And I think that's he's such an important figure of this time because he represents what our politicians should be, right? And if he ends up being successful, much and that may be to the Democratic Party's dismay, uh, they will have to fall in line with that model because if it's successful, then they will have no more excuses. You know what I mean? And we'll see that
And
happen.
suddenly, then the base can start asking more of their politicians. Because, yeah, we're, oh God, help us, 10 years into uh, fucking Trump's dark cloud hanging over this country.
Hmm.
And in 10 years, the Democrats have just been playing to lose, it seems like, trying to play nice or play the political games and do all political theater, and he's not doing that. That's
No.
why he got elected, because he made it very clear he wasn't going to play that.
Yeah.
And
And it's been very
Zoran will
obvious for
just,
years that these old games don't work. Like, people are
yes,
not
and
interested
they've been
in these.
ignoring it.
Yeah, they're not
Like, we're
interested in the
not going to,
niceties and, like, meeting across the aisle. Like, it's just like, be for real. Like, be for real
like,
in this moment.
people don't want Andrew Cuomo as the mayor because because of how he left office as governor, but also legacy politicians aren't going to be winning like that, or at least aren't going to be like currying favor like that.
No.
Because it's like fucking RFK Jr. is a legacy politician, and
And the Kennedys
he
don't
does
even
not
like
have.
him.
Yes,
His own
yeah.
family doesn't even like him. So,
So like people don't really care if your dad or your grandpa was like this major political figure 100 years ago. It wasn't even no, it was nowhere near 100 years ago, but you know what I
no.
mean.
But I mean, like, a
Um,
legacy means nothing to the modern voter now.
right,
It's like
especially
we.
because like it's a more diverse voting pool too than when like Kennedy was president.
Mhm.
And so like yeah, people are they're not gonna be charmed by like who your daddy is.
Right,
That's why they came to
exactly.
America, because
Yeah,
that shouldn't matter here.
right, exactly. Um, and I mean, like, we're seeing a strong resistance, I think, form because I've already seen a lot of people like begin to put their names out for the midterms or whatever in varying states. And of course, a big thing they run on is like that they want to fight against the Trump administration, which is good. But they're also like making a stern point of like meeting people where they're at, and like that's really important. And I think again, provided things are holding on by a thread in the next few months, hopefully we can begin to see that change. But I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to like all of this, feeling sorry that Charlie Kirk is dead like really does nothing. I mean, it doesn't, whether we care or whether we don't doesn't really change anything. It doesn't change the violence that happened to him. It doesn't change the violence that he perpetuated. Nothing changes if whether you make a big deal out of someone grieving this man or not. Um, so I
Which
mean,
I
like,
never will.
no, I never will either. And I don't understand why people want it to be like such a big thing where we need to, but I think people need to understand that there's room to have empathy for the violence being committed on this person, but you don't have to have empathy for the person because,
Well, I should point out that Charlie Kirk wouldn't have wanted us to have felt empathy for him
well,
anyway.
he
He felt that
according to him
empathy
that was a made up
was,
word. Empathy was a
yes, and it
made
was
up word.
hurting our society. So, if
Yeah.
anything, I'm honoring his wishes.
Right, exactly. That's a big thing. A lot of, you could argue, because he loved arguing, so you could argue that not being empathetic towards him is exactly what he would want. So I mean,
Yeah,
you can make that argument till the cows come home, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, it is what it is.
well,
But the fact
yeah,
of the matter is, gun violence is still running rampant, and he was
yeah,
just another man who suffered because of it, another person who was another casualty of it, and it's
yeah.
just simply irony. Is really all it is at the end of the day, and that's been the biggest thing that people have been pointing out, and people think that constitutes as cheering and celebrating, and it's not. It's just pointing out facts. That's all it is, and
Facts. Well, that's not true. Like I was gonna say, facts don't care about your feelings, but
I was going to say that too.
that's other one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
facts. I mean, that's true. I mean, facts don't care about your feelings. I know the right really likes using that talking point when they're talking about liberals, but I mean, the right is the one who is like screaming, angry. Like you have like these middle-aged white men just making screaming things on TikTok, like talking about we're gonna start a revolution, we're gonna go to war, we're gonna how can you do that? How can you do that? He was an innocent man. Like just insanity. So like just pure insanity. Like people are just unhinged. And it's just
uh,
it really is a testament of the time we live in where this cult has infiltrated so many people in this country, like in some in more obvious ways, but I think especially with this we saw how it infiltrated people in more subtle ways, and it just really showed people how they dip their toes into fascism and how easy it can be on the internet, to just be exposed to this type of stuff and that type of rhetoric. And I mean, I've mentioned this a few weeks back. I mean, there was a time when I was still in the church, I was very susceptible to all this stuff. Because I mean, at the time, I was straight in the closet. I was a straight white kid. Trying to find all these people, and I remember during my libertarian phase, really fucking with Steven Crowder for a bit, because I thought, oh, he's different and he's not technically a conservative. Because I always felt uncomfortable considering myself a Republican because I didn't feel like it was appropriate to label myself as like one particular thing. And so I wanted to be different, and so I thought like libertarian would be like a cool like different thing. But then now, of course, with the power of like
just want
hindsight,
to be different.
yeah, exactly, I just wanted to be different, I just want to be a pick me. But I mean, like, obviously there was just other things at play there. It was just a refusal of self-acceptance of who I am. But I mean,
See, it's interesting. I've I've always been a lefty. I've
mhm,
always been a lefty.
mhm,
Runs in the family. And so even like as a kid, I had this reputation as being like this bleeding heart liberal, which again for Christian prep school just meant that like I'm gay,
mhm,
gay people should have rights. But then that kind of just like sent me on like further like left and just being like, well, hey, wait a second, like other people, like I'm gay, but like there's also trans people, and trans people have been shit on just like I was, so like they should have rights too. And certainly not like my own relation. Degrassi really helped with that one.
oh yeah.
But like, and then it just is like, hey, yeah, like other people should have rights too. And hey, what's this I hear about this open air prison in Israel? And it's like, oh, oh, they're doing what in it to the Palestinians over there? You mean the Palestinians don't have the same citizenship as Israelis? You mean they have to drive on special roads at certain times of day and don't have like full access to electricity? Where have I heard that before? South Africa? Apartness, I think it's apart something.
Apart
Um,
apartment.com apartments.com.
Yeah. And so yeah, I've always been like this, and I've always been very loud and very annoying too. So
Hmm.
like I don't know why some people are like coming for me like acting so surprised. Like I haven't been quiet about my political views ever. I've always been so incredibly left. I struggle to call myself a leftist because that's a bit of a loaded term for me, but enough people whose opinions I respect would consider me that way, so I'm like, I guess that's
Yeah,
the
it's
definition.
hard because it's just like I feel like both extremes like just it doesn't leave room for nuance because like everyone loves to keep things so fucking polarized, because it's just like if you have like one type of view that could be possibly construed in some capacity towards being conservative, like people will rip you to shreds for it. And it's just like I think there's room for dialogue on certain things, but definitely not on like, human rights, fucking, racial equality, fucking
Yeah.
simple
Well,
things,
because
humanity, just basic humanity. I feel like
it was,
there's.
I was also like, well, I was also like, like it just in that environment, just like shamed for it too. Because
Mhm.
like if I said that like, oh, gay people deserve rights, people would just immediately dismiss it as, well, of course you're saying that. You're gay, or you think you're gay. Of course you feel that way. And it's like, yeah, like and it's just like, and it's happening again too. Just like, why are you trying to shame me for thinking that I should have basic rights and
Right.
dignity
It's
and
just
be
like,
able to exist in public space?
right. It's just like, yeah, why are you surprised that I think I should exist?
Well,
Hello?
like, why, yes, I would also like to get married if I want to.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think I should be precluded from that just because I want to marry a bloke. Like, like, yeah, and maybe I don't want to be killed by the police, you know? I enjoy being alive, and
Crazy thought.
I don't
Can you
want that
imagine?
to stop just because I was speeding.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Um, yeah, I don't know. This whole day and a half, I guess, or two, whatever. How long? It's been a lot of shit I've been seeing come in the past
it's
24
been
hours.
it's been a hell of a year this week.
You're right, exactly. But it's certainly been interesting, and ultimately, I I would just encourage people to just look. I'm not saying you got to know everything when it comes to politics, but if you're going to speak on stuff, you should at least know something about what the fuck you're talking about. And a lot of you fucking, I'm specifically talking to white people. A lot of you fucking white people just do not know what the fuck you're talking about anything ever. And you just, like, you just don't get it because you've never it's wild to me because like as the years have gone on, I've seen my circle of white people in my life dissipate little by little, um, and it really is just sort of illuminating, just sort of how how much you can isolate yourself into a mindset and uh, just have completely shield out empathy for other people when you don't talk to them, when you don't talk to people with like different backgrounds than you and different life experiences than you. um because it's just like they they just have no concept of like life being different than what they have experienced. Like, have I ever been harassed by the police? No. The most I've ever experienced personally is I got pulled over once because I was doing a little swerving while because I was texting while driving. The cop let me go. But in that moment, I was in a predominantly white neighborhood. This is a white 22-year-old kid, um, and I can imagine that situation now. Talking with people, I can imagine that situation going differently if I wasn't. And like being able to recognize that, I think, is so important for white people in this country. But just so many of them just don't want to admit it. like like people think the Civil Rights Act happened. Like white people think the Civil Rights Act happened, which, by the way, Charlie Kirk says was a mistake. Uh, people think the Civil Rights Act happened and like racism just like sort of disappeared. It was like a fucking like thing that just got deleted. And it's just like, no.
But it's Civil Rights Act. People think because Obama got elected president, racism was fixed forever.
Right. And I think
Like,
like that's just
you
like
got impressed.
I think
Isn't
it's
that
just I think
enough?
it's just maybe it's sort of because of like the way we portray like good versus evil and like media and stuff. Like people think it's like a fucking movie where it's just like, "Oh, we defeated the bad person and then everything was okay." And it's like, "No, man. This is real
Nah.
life." This is real life. This
Hmm.
isn't some fucking movie. This isn't some fucking fairy tale. This is the real world where evil people still exist, no matter what. And it's just up
Like
to.
just just because people like that stop short of saying the N word in public or at least in recorded medium, that does not mean that they are not racist
No.
or that I am being too sensitive or that I'm reading too much into the blatantly racist things that he says. If you watch, and it's not difficult. I mean, it might be a little difficult to find now because like everything attached to his name is about his death, but it's not that difficult to find stuff that he said that was racist, that was bigoted.
No.
He never hid it. And if you see that and you think that he was defensible, I don't have anything to say to you. I'm
No.
sorry. It's not worth my
Yeah.
time.
I mean, yeah, it's truly wild. Like we do live in crazy times where it's just we really did make a mistake when social media sort of like started finding its footing in the 2010s, where we sort of gave weight to everyone with a fucking opinion and started validating everyone's fucking opinions. Because the fact of the matter is, like, not everyone's opinion is valid. I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah,
We really stopped valuing expertise on a lot of things, and there are so many people who are very knowledgeable about the history of racism in this country and like white supremacy, and it's just so many people do not know enough about it, and obviously we see that in like our uh, institutions for higher learning and just education in general in this country. Like they're just trying to make everyone stupider, because if they're stupider, they can be controlled. And I mean, like it's crazy because like it even like affected this, like I mean, like you've been saying that it affected people in this private institution that you would think would have more money put into it, but no, because it was just an arm of the Christian church and it's just a propaganda machine at the end of the day. um and they
yeah.
just have a message to push. So yeah, it's just crazy times. And
I'm not. I'm not so cynical. I'm not so far gone and hopeless. And even though you just said life is a movie, it's not. But um, good does good wins out. There's a light in the distance.
yeah,
Like I
that was a
do
Power
like
Ranger lyric, wasn't
truly.
it? You were trying to
Yeah,
sing. Yeah, I know.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
no, but I do believe deep down that like eventually enough people will like pull their heads out of their ass and realize I'm not okay living like this, or I'm not okay with having people like this
Yeah.
have platforms. And
Yeah.
I don't, it's not going to be tomorrow, and it's probably not even going to be next year, but there will be a point
No.
where enough people are just like, we deserve better. We got to
Yeah.
stop treating each other this way. We have to do better for other people.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, and don't ask me how it's gonna happen. I
No,
don't
I mean, there's no
know.
way of knowing exactly how it's going to
No,
happen, but I mean, like,
but
yeah,
like there will be a point
right.
again where we just like choose love, choose empathy.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, like, because I mean, obviously, a lot of it is social media. It's just like everything being so algorithmically driven to like make us upset, make us angry, outrage, all that stuff. But, you know, there's been a big push to sort of like isolate everyone and just sort of like keep them. I mean, you notice it with just kind of everything. It's just like we've kind of like put everything onto like our phones, and like people have stopped like having community with one another, and isolating themselves from people. And these people are the people who end up being susceptible to all of the things that people like Charlie Kirk promote. A lot of y'all know I stopped talking to my dad, and you know, that was his thing. He went to this huge. I mean, he still goes to this huge fucking mega church, right? Thousands of people go every fucking week, but he never really left the house. He didn't really have a lot of friends outside of like maybe a couple, other couples because he was involved in like the music ministry and stuff. But it's just like I saw like as he got deeper into this cult, him begin to isolate himself more and more, and it's just like that's sort of the point where he became susceptible, you know,
Mm.
because it's just like the social media websites create this view of the world, the scope of the world that is just like it just makes it easier to believe, what the right perpetuates. Um,
It's scary.
yeah,
It is. It's very scary. And it's like it's like crazy to think that like it could I don't like thinking about like who it could happen to, but it's like people I never would have expected. I mean, being genuine, I don't like these are I know people who were at the January 6th insurrection. I know people who were in the Capitol building. These are
mm-hmm.
people that I went to school with. I never expected anything like this from them. I don't care if like, oh, well, you just didn't see it come. No, no, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course I didn't see it
Who
coming.
can predict something
Like
like that?
these are people who were like, and I've seen like I know people who were like relatively just like normal or just like perfectly just like seemingly well balanced people become anti-vaxxers or spout QAnon conspiracy, and it's scary. And there's been times where I'm just like, oh my God, could that happen to me?
Yeah.
It's
No,
like,
that's the thing because it's not even like obviously we joke about it being predominantly white people, and it is, but like there are so many like communities of color that are just like just as susceptible to all this bullshit, and it's
Candace
just
Owens exists.
exactly, and it's crazy. It's crazy
Freaking
that it's able to
what's
happen.
oh gosh, like what where does the care where's that gone? That like because I've heard people say, and I'm unfortunately inclined to agree that like yeah, when you look back at stuff from the 90s or even like the 1950s, we've taken such progressive steps backwards
Yeah,
that you're like wondering like dang like we like what where did it all go like it's like in the movies or even just like socially like there's even talks of overturning same-sex marriage with the Supreme Court like
yeah,
what the hell I
yeah. It's
uh,
just because it just makes you wonder like do we go back? Like, what happens moving forward? What happens once we get it? Because I mean, like, people have been saying the thing of like, oh well, we won gay marriage, and we'll just have to win it again if it does get overturned. Which, of course, yeah, I agree with, but it's just like it's just so
we
crazy to be
shouldn't
in a
have
time
to
where, yeah, it's just so crazy we live in a time where like we would have to have that fight again. It's crazy,
because like and yeah it's not to be a doomer but like it's not going to stop with same-sex marriage. It'll be interracial marriage soon
right?
soon after that and it's like it's not going like you're not safe
No,
like at any point um at any point the government can just legislate you out of existence if it's um almost said financial beneficial to them. But yeah, like I said, I'd like to think that hopefully I am hopeful, not hopeful. I am hopeful, and I am willing to take necessary action. But that we'll do better for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm sort of in that same boat that you're in, where I do have hope that we get there because I think being on things getting
Cynical.
cynical. Thank you, Jesus. Just being totally cynical about all of that doesn't really do anything, and just sort of stops you from even trying. And I would definitely
Yeah.
like to not stop trying. So I feel like I would rather die trying than to find out that I didn't even bother trying to see what the
Remain a
world could be.
soldier until the war is won.
Yeah, whatever that means. So
Boondocks.
yeah, thank you. I think that's where we'll end this. So so thank you so much to Colin for jumping on the show with me tonight.
Thanks for
Um,
having me.
yeah,
This was very helpful to like
yeah, I
talk
feel
this
like
all
this was
out.
very cathartic to just be able to sort of talk about this because I'm sure like you, like me, have seen so many fucking things on this in the last 24 hours. And so this will just be kind of a nice catharsis for this, just to kind of get it all out there, just sort of vomit our thoughts out onto the internet. And
Stream of
stream
conscious.
of
Yeah.
conscious. Yeah, exactly. And tomorrow we can, you know, um, move forward and try and continue navigating the world and figuring out, you know, how we continue on after this. So, but yeah, thanks again to Colin for coming on. If you guys liked the episode, make sure you give it a thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube. You can also subscribe to the channel to see new episodes when those come out on Friday. If you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the podcasts. Those are always very much appreciated. You can also leave comments on Spotify and YouTube. So if you'd like to, if you want to have a constructive conversation in the comments of this video, you're more than welcome to do that. Um, don't be getting crazy.
I'm looking forward to
I
it.
don't know how some of you are, but like, just don't be getting crazy. That's all I ask. But yeah, if you want to keep up with me and whatever else I got going on, you can follow me anywhere pretty much at Willie J Co. I will link Colin's Instagram.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll link Colin's Instagram in the description box below. So you guys can follow him too if you'd like. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight, you guys, and I will see you next time for another Friday Night Chill.